Bada bing, bada.
Hi.
And we're back.
Again, another week, another podcast.
If you are one of our 10 consistent listeners, please
11.
message us. Oh, 11?
Yeah.
Welcome, number 11. There was probably 11 before, and I just fucked that number up. Let's just be honest.
There was 16 before, and now we're down to 11.
Wow. Okay, well, whoever the 5 of you are who quit listening, you can eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Come back.
Just fuck right off.
We hate you, actually.
But they can't
We're going to
hear
talk shit about you to our moms. If I talk shit about you to my mom, it's over for you. Like, she will never forgive you.
That's the end of it. Yeah. I mean, moms are fierce.
Yeah. You don't want to fuck with a mama.
So updates for this week. I don't know. I think it was last episode. We were a little confused about how Easter works.
Yeah.
Kind of where it lands on the calendar, on the numbers of days. And I found out there's a good reason why, because it's very complicated. So, and I'm just going to read the quote here because this is too much for me to remember. But Easter is the first Sunday that comes after the full moon that occurs on or after the spring equinox.
You're going to tell me that's not some witchcraft shit?
It's so witchy. Yeah, that's
You're
what
going to
people...
tell me Easter is a Catholic holiday, right? Or is that wrong? Is it Catholic?
It's Christian. I think it's all Christian. Yeah. So including Catholic. Yes. Yeah. This is too complicated. I cannot follow along. Like, just kind of pop it on the same day every year. First Easter in April. Something not after the equinox. There's too much Googling I have to do after Googling when it is.
Yeah. I'm just not going to celebrate that anymore. I think I'm just going to celebrate the spring equinox.
I'm actually really down for that. Can we start like a family tradition and like both of our families just get together?
Fuck at this Easter. I hate Easter.
Kind of have like a willow themed get together. We all have our little glowy balls.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. And you have to know the dance and you have to have a cloak. It's so funny that we're talking about this. Birdie went to a wizard party yesterday, last minute. Her husband's out of town at a bachelor party, and so last night her in-laws took her girls for a sleepover, and she was like, oh, I have the evening to myself. And she was like, I don't want to just sit at home and like do nothing because I never get this time to myself. So she called some of her friends and they were like, yeah, we're going to a wizard party, you should go with us. And she sends us, I promise this makes sense to what we were talking about 10 minutes ago before all the stuff we have to cut out.
Yeah, it'll get deleted anyways. Oh,
it'll make sense.
Okay.
So she sends us like this Snapchat video and she's wearing a full-blown cloak and she's got like red lipstick on. You have never seen someone look so gorgeous in a cloak as Birdie. Like, it's insane. Because she's got, you've seen, you know what she looks like. So she's got like this big, beautiful curly hair, but she has this one streak right now that's white. And her hair's all curly and you can see her white streak and she's got a red lipstick and her cloak on. And you're just like, you have to keep that cloak on forever. So
that's it.
Also, like spring equinox cloaks, globular things.
Where was my owl for the party? I did not receive an owl for this party.
I was pretty upset too. You know, like I was waiting for a fireplace to appear and an invitation to shoot out in my house, and that never happened. The cat is joining the podcast.
So Amber's window is open because it's a beautiful day.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
And apparently the neighbor cat really likes Out of Touch.
Yeah, he's been cheering us on this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So
not much you can do about that. So
no. So if you hear him, no, you didn't. What other updates do we have? We figured out Easter. That whole thing was about Easter.
We did figure out Easter. I forgot. So next update, the Love is Blind lawsuits. I think we talked about that like a couple episodes ago. Mm-hmm. And I said I was going to do it in the next episode, and it totally slipped my mind until I was like re-listening back to the editing of that episode. So I found out there are 3 lawsuits total, at least that I found, against Netflix, and I believe the company is called Kinetic TV, which, like, kind of, I guess, in some way produces
Like
or
the
does something
producer or
with the
something.
show. Yeah. So in season 5, this was season 6, I believe, that we just watched. Season 5 was Houston, and you remember how I told you, like, there used to be a bunch of couples that would get to the end, and now it seems like there's only, like, 2 every season?
Yeah.
So there were 5 couples that made it, like, past the pods last season, and then 2 of them actually ended up, like, airing their entire journey, to the altar. Another couple actually went through the filming process and, like, got to the altar and everything, and they thought that they were gonna be, like, on the show, and their whole storyline ended up getting pulled out, like, the last month before the show aired. Um, and why that ended up happening is because this was Renee Poche, I believe is how she says her name, and Carter something. I don't know his last name, but he's a douchebag, so we don't need to
We
share
don't
his
need to
name.
know that.
But so he just ended up being, like, super toxic, and he was very violent, and allegedly, I guess, like, the
Oh,
production crew, like, knew that. They allegedly literally told her at one point to she, like,
wow.
lives in Texas, so the show was based in Houston, so they all live in Texas, and she has a firearm. She's not, like, a huge, like, firearm advocate or anything, but she just has it for safety, and the production cast asked her not to bring her firearm, like, not to have it in her vehicle because she has a concealed permit, and they asked her not to have it in her vehicle because he would be with her.
Oh, okay. So there was concern about him getting a hold of it, not her
Yes.
having it.
So they
Gotcha.
clearly knew that
Mhm.
he has, like, violent tendencies. Um, and she got to a point with him where she was like, "I'm not staying in the apartment with him anymore." And luckily production was okay with that, but they did still, like, heavily pressure her into finishing filming, which she did, thinking, "Oh, this is gonna be a good message for people to, like, be
Yeah.
careful and stuff like that." And
Mhm.
so this was, like, very traumatic for her. She continues it, finishes filming for, like, a year and a half, is having all this anxiety about it airing and what it's gonna mean for her and, like, all of this because of how, like, traumatic that experience was, and then a month before it airs, they pull her storyline and don't even air it, and when this was happening was when another lawsuit was coming in for them as well, so I think they aired it knowing, like, how toxic, or they decided not to air it knowing how toxic their relationship was and that it's not a good look for the show, but still, it just really sucks for her because she, like, stuck it out, and then
Yeah.
she doesn't get any of the benefits of, like, that these people usually get, like, brand deals and all that stuff, for being on the show.
Well, and it's also just punishing the woman
The
for the
victim.
man's mistakes. It's
Mhm.
exactly I feel like this is the exact, description of the book that I was supposed to start that I didn't start yet.
Yes.
This was the exact description pretty much, like, might as well have been. Like, man is asshole, woman pays for it.
Well, get this, okay, so she came out and, like, told her story on a podcast called Out of the Pods, which is
Interesting.
from 2 people who used to be on the episode, and, like, those, like,
Sure.
little the areas that they're in the first 2 weeks when they're getting to know each other, it's called The Pod. So, the podcast is called Out of the Pods because it's 2 women who used to be on the show, and now they're out of the pods.
Clever.
And they had her on there to tell her story, and that's the first time she actually, like, aired her story. So then
Wow.
Netflix comes at her with a $4 million lawsuit for violating her NDA, which, like, I don't know the details of the NDA and stuff, but, like, I just feel like there should be exceptions for
Mhm.
times like this when abuse is involved or, like, very traumatic experiences.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So
I'm just baffled.
yeah. So she was never suing them. They sued her first, and then now she is suing them in return. She literally made $8,000 from being on the show. I guess they got, like, $1,000 stipend a week, and she was on it for 8 weeks. So she made $8,000, and now they're suing her for $4 million.
Yeah, sure. Netflix, here you go. Here's
like what? And her story never
here's my
aired.
Monopoly money.
So it's not like she can even profit off of it.
Her trauma. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's one of the lawsuits. Another lawsuit
Wow.
is from this girl. I don't want to say her name, I guess, because I don't think she really wants to be
That's fair.
like out in the public for this. Her name is out there. You can Google it if you want, but she's not like seeking this kind of attention at all. But she was sexually assaulted during when they were in the apartments together, allegedly. And I guess she like approached production about it and was like told them about it, and they were just kind of like gaslighting her and like pushing her to continue with the show, allegedly. And she did eventually just leave and walk off. But so she has a lawsuit against Netflix and Kinetic TV, I think, for like feeling like she was a prisoner, and which is all 3 of these lawsuits mention imprisonment and like feeling like they didn't have the free will to like move around, or like they were pressured into staying after they wanted to leave.
Well, and it also is coming from a big corporation like Netflix, and these individuals on this TV show, I doubt many, if any, have their own lawyer.
Right. Oh, right.
So they're being pressured into these situations that are really fucked up,
allegedly,
because they don't have the same muscle that a $1 billion company does.
Yes. I've heard Renee Poche's like issues with it too is like there should be a certain level of screening before these people come on this show. Like these people have a ton of Netflix has enough money to properly screen these people, especially if you're going to get married having known someone for 2 weeks. Like there should be certain things that like should not even be in question. So Renee found out that the person she was engaged to had a negative account balance in his bank accounts, which like that's not something you should have to worry about if you're on a show where you have to get married within 2 weeks. Like that kind of stuff should be vetted and out of the question. It shouldn't even be a concern. So he didn't even have enough money to support himself. He was practically homeless. He was estranged from his family members. So like there's just a bunch of red flags.
So there's no background, like they don't do any background checks?
I don't know. I'm sure now they are. I don't know if at the time,
of course.
I don't know if they just weren't doing them or they didn't care. Or they saw it and was like, oh, this guy would be great on TV. You know, like, I don't know. And I didn't look into that. So maybe those answers are out there. I don't know. But yeah, that's one of her like big things too, like why she's so upset. And then there was one third one. This one was back from season 2. Jeremy Hartwell also sued. This is a quote. Sued Netflix and Kinetic Content and Delirium TV. That's what it is. Alleging various California labor law violations. Like Ding and Poche. Hartwell's lawsuit claims participants are not allowed to move or act of their own free will. While the production took place, according to the lawsuit, cast members also were faced at that time back in season 2. They were faced with a $50,000 penalty for breaching their contract or leaving early. And since then, they've taken the $50,000 contract away. But yeah, so that was the.
I genuinely hope that things are better for any seasons they put on after this, because it's like such a shame for all these people that are essentially guinea pigs because Netflix didn't think ahead of this kind of thing.
Right. Which is,
you know,
also crazy. Like the background check thing is just like, get it together.
Like I would think you would have to have if you're putting a show like this together, you would have to like make sure these people aren't crazy. But at the same time, like maybe they don't really give a shit. That's what they're looking. They're just looking to make good TV. It's like, where's the oversight?
Yeah. So now I'm like, am I allowed to like continue to watch this? I don't know if I want to support it.
I don't even want to watch Netflix now. Like it's a little sickening.
Right. So
to think about.
Like I want to watch it because I'm like sucked into the show and everyone like watches it when it comes out, you know, so like you're in the hype with everyone. But after looking into these lawsuits a little deeper, I'm like, y'all definitely need to like take some accountability and like fix stuff. And that's the thing is like the show producer is taking no accountability. He's just like, well, she didn't tell us she was sexually assaulted, so if she didn't let us know, like, what can we do? Which, like, sure, there is like a small amount of like credibility to that, but also he should be saying, but in the future, we're going to do this and this and this to make sure that those things do not happen anymore. And he's not saying that. Plus,
Yeah.
people who've been on the show before are saying like the claims that he's making refuting the lawsuit claims aren't inaccurate. It's not true for like what they experienced on the show.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
that's
yuck.
yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So woof.
What is it with Hollywood? It just, I mean, there was that documentary that came out recently. Was it about Nickelodeon?
Yes. I watched it. It was
I
rough.
didn't.
I don't
feel
think you
like
should. Yeah, I don't
I
think you'd
can
like it.
imagine enough. I don't think you'd like it.
Yeah.
I'm so like just baffled that part of the world exists, I guess. Maybe
I
that's
know.
naive, but
And as parents too, it's like it's so it just makes you like I don't want to be a helicopter mom, but like this is happening everywhere.
yeah. It makes it really hard to give any trust to anyone in the world. And I just think about me. I grew up in a really small town. Everybody knew everybody. And there were only 3 places to hang out: the arcade, the movie theater, which was tiny and it only held like 20 people, and the bowling alley. And when I was like 13 and 14, I would go to the bowling alley until like 1 a.m. with my friends and hang out with people that were 18 and 19 and 20. Like that was, our parents were too trusting. And now
Right.
our generation is, I think, going to be the exact opposite. And I feel that sentiment that you said, like, I don't want to be a helicopter mom, but there's also so much to be afraid of.
Right. Yeah. So it's shitty out here.
And I guess you just think in a situation where it's Netflix and they have money that they're going to make sure that situation is safe
Right.
for everybody involved.
Or it's Nickelodeon dealing with kids. You're going to make sure, like, you assume it's Nickelodeon. They have done background checks. They have done. How did that not occur to them? Like, I know it was like, what, the late 90s, it was like early 2000s, I think.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. Like, it's not like that's unheard of doing a background check in the early 2000s.
Yeah, that's
like,
not a novel. Like, that's not.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Crazy, dude.
Yuck.
So this was kind of fun. On Reddit, I got called out of touch twice.
It's incredible. It's almost as if we manifested that energy to us.
I am this brand.
Yeah. I don't even have to try. Just it's the most natural thing there is.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I took screenshots of it and we'll have a separate episode for like Reddit stuff because I've started gathering screenshots and stuff so that you and I can talk about. I kind of want to read them to you and see like what your reaction is. Yeah.
Tori loves to blind react me.
I do.
She's always like, I'm gonna hold on to these.
Yeah.
Like that's what we did with the dating screenshots when we were starting out and we were doing those TikToks. That's so funny.
Yeah. I think it could still work too, like for on here. Yeah.
I like those.
So I pretty much,
except for in the moments where I was like not funny and it was just like, well, your reaction just sucks.
Yeah, I feel that deeply.
Yeah, that's hard.
And there's still evidence of it on the internet, so I hate that.
Right.
But yeah, I got called out of touch by 2 Reddit users, like nearly back to back, because I guess the Am I the Asshole, I was on the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and just like a quick recap of it was that this guy works 12 hours a day. He had started his own business. His wife is a stay-at-home mom, and she has a degree in like writing or English or something like that, and she wanted to start using her degree to write a book. So she's been writing a book, and he's been noticing that things around the house aren't done as much, like dusting and sometimes the dishes. And he like had a talk with her and she said, "Oh, well, I kind of need you to like pick up on things." And he instantly like went into defense mode pretty much. I'm just like recapping his like what he typed
Yeah.
out. But he instantly was just like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to like do more for your hobby when I'm working 12 hours a week." And everyone on there said that he was not the asshole because he's
Were
working.
they all men? Were they all men?
I don't know. I didn't do the research. This is a very popular thread too. Like there were like thousands of comments, but I was one of the first people that I saw that said, "Yes, you're the asshole." And I said, "You're not the asshole for the same reasons that you think
listed,
but
yeah.
you're the asshole for not having like not respecting her in that conversation."
Mm-hmm.
And not being flexible at all. I don't know their story, but like I'm assuming she may have been there to support him when he started his own business.
It's
not
generally
sure
how it works.
And she supported him. So I'm like, if you can't, even worse comes to worse, you cannot meet the needs that she's asking or the expectations that she's asking for. Have a respectful conversation with her and don't call the thing that she wants to do as a career a hobby because it hasn't made money yet. Like that's literally just the nature of that work, but it is still work.
You know, I also find that if you are asking yourself if you're the asshole, you probably are.
Well, sometimes they're not. I will say sometimes they're not.
But if you're genuinely like not sure.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like some people just ask because there's like an insecurity and those
they
are
want the
actually good
validation,
people.
right?
It's like a mom who's like, I want to be a good mom. Am I being a good mom?
Right.
It's like, well, the fact that you're just out there trying, you are a good mom. I'm not saying every person who asks themselves the question, am I the asshole, is the asshole, but I would say 9 times out of 10, you probably are.
Like if you're
There's probably a
genuinely
good chance.
unsure, yeah. So they called me out of touch, I guess, because I backed up her side. And I wouldn't even say I backed up her side. I'm just backing up the side of like, have a respectful conversation about this. Don't like belittle her and her education and her dreams because you work 12 hours a day.
I think there are also very unrealistic standards in people's heads for like how you support your spouse. And I think it's always going to change.
Mm-hmm.
It is never, ever, 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 ever 50-50. It's, hey, I have more to give right now.
Yes.
And I'm willing to do that because I love you and you're my spouse. Instead of taking the angle of like, well, you're not doing the dishes and I'm working 12 hours. Those, what?
Yes. And we all know too, like I've never had to be a stay-at-home mom, but I'm a mom. And the job does not, I get off work and the job continues because you're a mom.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he works 12-hour days. That girl's working at least 18-hour days. Okay.
Thank you.
And the kid is in school. Yes. So like she gets a little bit of a break, but you have to drive the kid to school. What do you get? 6 hours while they're in school? Right. Someone commented on there and said, well, the kid's in school for 12 hours of the day anyways. What kind of school does your child go to? 12 hours? And the whole 50-50 thing, like that was actually in a reply of my comment too. I was like, well, it's not always 50-50. It's rarely 50-50.
Well, and I just think if we were more honest with each other and ourselves about that expectation, that these types of situations in relationships could be not as frequent.
I saw on like a TikTok or something recently, and I sent it to my husband of like, it was a therapist who made the TikTok, and she said that every day, like her and her husband get home and they sit down at the table and they say how much they have to give that day on a 1 to 100%, like how much they just can give to the relationship, to the household, all of that. And you know, if one of them is at 20 and the other one's at 80, then great, they're at 100% and they understand that it's going to be more so on that one person for the day. However, if they both sit down and they cannot equal to 100 together, then they have to make a plan of how they're not going to hurt each other throughout the day. And I thought that was so, I don't know, it like really sat with me because I was like, that's when we get in the most of our fights, is when we're both overwhelmed and stressed out. So if we could just acknowledge it ahead of time and be like, hey, this is where we're both at, like maybe we just go to opposite sides of the house and like sit in different corners, or we sit together and just like watch TV, but like we're not expecting the other to do anything because we know where we're coming into the day
And
at.
I think so often we put our own like idea of what somebody else should be giving into our own heads and therefore into the universe.
Yes.
And then it just creates this resentment out of really nothing, because it is not anybody else's job to read my mind, just like it's not their, like vice versa. You can't tell where somebody's at just by assuming. You have to hear it from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I think we grew up with this expectation, or at least I feel like we grew up with this expectation of like, it's always going to be 50-50. And I wish somebody had been like, no, it's not. It's never going to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Adjust your expectation.
I love that you're on coffee and I'm over here drinking red wine at 10:55 in the morning.
It's happy hour.
Somewhere.
Like, yeah.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Honestly, a mimosa sounds real nice.
So that's what I wanted initially, was a mimosa. So I have a story to tell at story time today on the podcast that I'm a little bit nervous sharing. But I just think it's really important to be like open and genuine like through this experience, because I think people just like appreciate that, and I don't know, can sense it when you're being like more genuine. So I'm going to be a little vulnerable and share a story I'm a little nervous to share.
It's so funny to me because we've shared a lot already. I mean, I know there's a lot more we could share that we haven't.
Yes.
There's a lot more that we could touch on. But I do agree with you. I think that people really have appreciated our transparency. That's the impression I've gotten from people who I know have listened.
Mm-hmm. I know I appreciate it in podcasts too. Like,
yeah,
those are the ones that I stick with and I listen to. Like, I just binge them because I can relate to them, I guess, because they're being more open and not just like playing it safe. So
yeah,
buckle in, folks. Here we go. I might need a few pee breaks.
That's fine. It's totally fine.
Our last update, next week we're going to have our first guest on the podcast, and I'm really, really excited.
That's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Her name's Shoshana. I've been friends with her. We were both in marching band together, like my freshman year, her sophomore year in high school. So we go way back. I have Shoshana on the podcast, and I'm just excited. We've got
yeah,
and
it's gonna be good.
Yeah. So that's exciting. We'll go over some like stories from our past that were a little wild, and then she's got a story or two to share with us as well. So
fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Also, we didn't put this on the updates, but Tortured Poets, we're 12 days out.
12 days out. Like,
that's nuts.
We're excited.
I am in such a place where I am ready to cry.
So ready.
Like just ready for it.
Yes. And we will have I think we're going to do like a reaction video on our TikTok. I don't think we'll both be in the entirety of it due to the time of these album releases at midnight. It's not really our vibe. But I think I'm going to so I took the next day off. So I'm going to nap a lot that day. And then
that's amazing.
Stay up for the night. And Amber's going to make it as long as she can. Which we're not, that's totally fine. But we'll try to like do some kind of video of that too as it comes out. Last for updates, this also isn't on the list, but Amber has an interesting login name today. So how our software works is we can enter our names, and we always just come up with something wonky as we come in. And hers today is short and sweet for you to love.
You got it. I mean, it's only fair that we heard, about Smile, Tori. So
true.
I felt like I had to share mine. I also remember when the movie Sweet Home Alabama came out with Reese Witherspoon.
I was about to sing it, and then I was like, do not put that on.
That will be on forever. I had the exact same. That's why I immediately stopped.
I was like, there cannot be evidence of this.
No, never, never, ever. I changed my username, or I created a new screen name that was Sweet Home Virginia. So I used that one for a little while. But Short and Sweet for You to Love, I feel like that one went from like middle school all the way to high school. And I
Okay.
just kept it. Like, well, my whole friends list knows this username. So
I need to know, were you on AIM with this username?
correct. That's what I'm talking. Yeah.
In the
Mhm.
sketchy chats? Like those random ones where you didn't know
Oh,
anyone?
yeah.
Yeah.
So my brother used to encourage me to start fights in chat rooms. So he'd be like, go into a religious chat room and ask them who would win in a fight between Superman and God.
That's amazing.
And just see what they say. And I would, because I'd be like, I'm the youngest. And so I always wanted my siblings to like me because
That
they were both
is
older.
actually hilarious, though.
Yeah, really funny. And he would just stand over my shoulder, cackling, like reading the responses. People would get very upset, as you can imagine. Yeah, that was good. I wish I had an archive of all my AIM away messages from back in the day.
Right?
Yeah. And I also feel like such a millennial when I'm coding a website. I just feel it takes me back to coding my MySpace page
Yes.
layout back in the day. And I'm just like, how hilarious that I was so obsessed. I changed my layout on MySpace like every day.
Oh,
And
yeah. Oh, Summer House, I'm all caught up. It's good. Always sucked into Summer House. I just love Paige DeSorbo so much. I cannot help it.
she is hilarious. I just sent Birdie a clip this morning. I guess it's from the most recent, I'm assuming it's from the most recent Summer House episode where Paige is listening to Carl talk about how Kyle is a flower boy for his wedding.
Yes.
And Paige is just sitting there like cackling. She's like, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't have fun at your wedding. I'm not going to that if
Oh
you're
my
making
God.
me a flower boy.
Please send that to me because, yeah, so that's what I was going to kind of touch on is like, so Lindsay and Carl, I think last episode I said that they're getting divorced, but I think that, or not divorced, but calling the wedding off. I think that was like a flash forward. So we haven't like seen that happen in the show yet. I think it was just kind of like a preview of what's to come this season. But him and Lindsay are, and at first, I'm not going to lie, Lindsay has always been just a loose cannon, like just all over the place. So I was kind of chalking all this up to on her, because she is something else. But
Yeah.
I will say Carl is also being kind of weird. It is. So Lindsay is so she's done some really messed up things. So Carl is sober this season, and I think last season he was sober as well. And I think his problem was cocaine. It's been like kind of insinuated that that was what the real issue was, but he's also not drinking and all that stuff. And she, when they first got together, she was not drinking either, to kind of just like stand in solidarity with him. Yeah. But now she is drinking, and it's causing like, because when she drinks, she gets very volatile, and it's causing like a lot of issues between them, because he'll be like, well, how many drinks are you on? Because she's being so out there. And then she'll get offended by that, and she will like bring up how he like smokes weed, but like she won't say how many like joints have you smoked. She'll be like, what are you on right now? So she's like calling him out like on camera, like insinuating that he's like on something, when later the next morning she'll say, oh, I was talking about you like smoking weed. But it's like one of the times too, she was saying that he seems like Cocaine Carl in this moment or so. So she's pretty much like saying on TV, on camera, that he's like not sober when he's been working very hard to be sober. And to the audience, to everyone around him, he seems sober. She's the one who doesn't. And she isn't. But yeah, so that's just like really messed up to do to someone who you're about to get married
to.
Right.
It's really odd that you're like psychological warfare.
Yes. And then Amanda and Kyle too are just like not doing well. It does not seem like. And have they ever been doing well? It's like very off and on.
That's what I was gonna say. I've never watched Summer House consistently. but I've watched it enough to know that they are inconsistent.
Yes.
At best.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being married to Kyle?
Mm-mm.
He has a mullet.
Now he does, yeah. It's insane, yeah. And then I think it was Craig, oh my God, of all people, bringing voice of reason into this situation. And he was just like talking, I think maybe someone was asking about how he's not drinking as much or something. And he was saying,
which, good for you, Craig.
Yes, and he said something along the lines of like, I just realized that if I want to be a husband, like it doesn't just happen overnight, and like I have to work towards like being husband material. I know, stop with that face because you're gonna make me cry. It was just like,
that's really insightful coming from Craig.
Yes. I really hope him and Paige get married. Like I never,
if it's what Paige wants.
I think it is. I never would have said that like 4 years ago, like that Craig.
Yeah.
But he does seem like he's come a long way. And
I think of the whole Southern Charm cast, he seems the most well-adjusted after their journey.
Which is
together.
crazy. Like him and Naomi, like now we're hopping over into Southern Charm, but him and Naomi were like so toxic. And yeah, I don't know. It's just good they're in that, they seem to be in a very healthy relationship. But that's about it for Summer House. So Vanderpump, still on the pound, please save Anne train.
Did you just say pound?
Hashtag, please save Anne train.
Do not cut that out. That has to stay.
Don't tell me what to do.
Pound, save. That was out of touch, Tori. Very on brand. Good job.
Damn.
Incredible. But yes, save Anne. It was just weird watching Tom like listening into that conversation between Anne and Ariana. That was at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Of the episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Schwartz all of a sudden wants children.
I think he is having a crisis because he realizes how much he messed his life up. Like he could be doing that right now. Like if they had stayed together in a healthy way, he and Katie, like they probably would be having kids right now. So, sorry, Schwartz. That's a you problem.
It's just weird to me. Like, I wonder, is he going to get married to Joe? Because he did mention it, a couple episodes ago. And it's almost like he's like holding himself back from it because he doesn't feel like he should do that yet after kind of recently getting divorced. And is he just going to like be impulsive on those feelings? Time will tell.
I could see that. I could see them like having a Vegas wedding and then being like, oh, we're having a baby.
Which I don't know if they would be the worst couple, honestly. Like it would be, they'd be an odd couple, but
they're both oddballs. But honestly, I think they do kind of make sense together.
As long as he is respectful.
Yeah, Joe deserves more than Schwartz.
Yes.
The water tasting was quite interesting. I felt immediately like they're running out of content for this show. They can't do one more cast trip or, a water tasting.
I saw on Reddit someone said it was funny because Lala was complaining about like the sandwich tasting, like a second sandwich tasting.
And she put on a water tasting.
And like it's just people's reaction to, honestly, like so wine, I like different tastes of wine. I want to taste the different flavors of wine. Water, I am kind of offended when it doesn't taste like exactly what I want. Like I buy the same brand of water all the time because I don't want it to taste like metally or, there's these different kinds of water you can buy. And I specifically buy the one I like because I don't want to taste the other ones.
Yeah, I don't want the other water.
No. I thought it was funny, though, how people were bringing, like, What did Sheena bring? Like vodka?
She had like some fruity
like
vodka
peach
thing.
vodka or something. Yeah.
And
she's like, it goes great with sparkling water. Bitch, that is not the point.
Yeah, we're supposed to be drinking water, Sheena.
Talk about supporting your friend. Like, y'all can't go one afternoon without drinking.
I'm saying. I also thought it was funny that Lala was like, we're going to do this at James and Allie's house.
Yeah, what was up with that?
This.
Oh, maybe because, like, her family's living, like, her mom's in her apartment and stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
I just thought it was funny. And then James is like, she made me buy pizza. It was $150.
Like, oh, I missed that.
He says that somewhere in the episode. It's like mentioned, but anyway.
That's funny.
There were some good, strong conversations happening at the water tasting, though. So although we're making fun of the fact that they were there for a water tasting, there was just as much drama as a wine tasting with this group.
That is true.
I saw you wrote down the anything you want to talk about, and then Schwartz and Katie immediately smirk, and it really does show the history between them.
Something about the smirk between them shared in that moment, like, you, even if you had never seen this show before, this is the first time you see them, you go,
yeah,
they've got a lot of history. Like,
there's a story here.
Yeah.
There's something going on.
Something about that conversation was, like, adorable at the same time as, like,
it was a hard conversation,
funny.
And they managed to make it wholesome in some way. Like, they were talking about Max and Katie sleeping together.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a tense subject, but they're also, like, being quite playful with each other. Like, at one point, Schwartz says Katie's outfit wasn't serving.
Yes.
That was hilarious to me. I'm like, well, first of all,
it is.
Katie always serves.
Right.
But in just the fact that Schwartz said that, the familiarity between them it reminds you of the good times between them, I guess. So it is kind of like bittersweet to watch.
It was, yeah. It was almost like, Schwartz, if you could have just done better.
Yeah.
Like this, y'all would have made a good couple.
Yeah. Because when they were good, but when they were bad, it was so bad.
Mm-hmm. And that's on Schwartz.
And that is on. Yes.
Are we okay with Katie sleeping with Max?
I feel very torn about this. Yes and no. I think it's super hypocritical after the whole don't sleep or date with people in the friend group and her getting so distraught over the Raquel thing. I know that was a lot closer to their divorce happening than now. You know, it's been a little bit longer, obviously. So on one hand, I'm like, it is kind of messed up. But then on the other hand, you're like, you know what? Let Katie live. She was with Schwartz for 10 plus years. Like, she deserves to do whatever she wants because he was an idiot. So I don't know. I feel very conflicted about that.
I think it's circumstantial. I think that without their history, 100%, it's messed up. Considering their history, it's not really.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I land.
I did think it was funny when, like, they start talking about it and Katie says something about, like, the Raquel thing, and he's like, can we not just move on and not delve into each other's past? And it's like, that's such a man's response. Like, can we just sweep it under the rug because this isn't convenient for me anymore?
Or a person in the wrong's response.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man.
True. True. I feel like considering the history, I'm 100% okay with it. And Katie is also taking accountability. Like, she's not really saying this is the best decision I've ever made.
No.
She's like,
and she does apologize at one point.
She does, yeah.
So it's like, no, I think it's fine.
I agree.
So, you know, we get that conversation between Schwartz and Katie, which was a well-adjusted conversation compared to the one between Sandoval and Ariana. Ariana is really just on this whole attempted murderer. Does she even say attempted, or does she just call him a dog murderer now?
Oh my God, yeah. She said attempted. But that was an intense Can you imagine just, like, being one of the mutual friends sitting in that room? Everyone else
eating
was
pizza?
like,
And you've only had water? Not even, except for Sheena, who brought her fruity vodka.
No, Katie
but like
had
everybody
wine
else was
too.
like
I saw it.
sober as a judge. Yeah.
Yeah, that was super intense. Like,
it's also one of these situations where I feel conflicted about as well.
I agree.
Should Tom have let Maya in the room? Like, should he have gone in Ariana's room? No. Should he have known that there was food sitting on her nightstand? Also no.
Right, but
Also no.
Also, the reason for going into her room, like fixing the air conditioner or whatever, he wanted to like close the vent. Is that what it was? It was something about like moving the vent, which you have to like get up on a ladder and like, you know, the vents in the rooms, you have to like slide the thing to.
Oh, yeah.
It sounded like he was adjusting that for some reason. I don't know.
He wasn't just going in her room to like go in there. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that if you're roommates with people, like say that you had no history with this person, you're just like literally living in their house and paying for a room in the house, you would never go in their room to adjust their AC.
That's true.
Never ever. Like if you would you live with it. You open a window, you buy a fan, you buy a window unit, you do something. You never ever ever go into your roommate's room.
Yeah.
To adjust it. So like, but there is history there, so it's kind of a different situation.
Also, who's
but
locking a dog in a room all day? Like,
right, and how do you not notice? Either way, though, so my friend had mentioned this to me, and I thought it was a really good point. She's like, you already know he's not trustworthy, and you're calling these dogs your children. You would never leave your children with someone you don't trust.
Someone who's untrustworthy.
Right, yeah, so you got to figure out the situation.
Lala even says in the episode, she's like, you're choosing to live with this person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could stay on somebody's couch.
Right.
You don't even have to have a place of your own. You could get out of there. You're staying there, and you've stated multiple times that you're staying there out of spite. Well, I want to counter offer his offer because he didn't include X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, if you're in a bad situation, you can leave.
Yeah, there's got to be...
No one is keeping you there.
Something is keeping her there besides the money. And I think that it is spite, personally.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I will
and
say
I get it.
That, yes. But let's just call a spade a spade.
Right.
It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody understands why you feel spiteful.
Yes. But they're...
Got it.
Yeah.
But it's spite.
Yeah.
When she said, don't go in my room, that's the only safe space I have in that home because you wrecked it. I was just like, tell him, girl. Tell him. Like, she is irrational in some ways, in my opinion. I'm not going to jump on the, like, Ariana's always right train because she was, like, hurt terribly on national television.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to say, like, any person is always right.
Right.
But when she said that, it was just like...
It hits home because I think every woman has had that feeling before where it's like you're living with someone who makes you not happy and you don't know the way out and you feel stuck. And this is like the one space she has to get away from him. And he goes into it, which again, I don't think was necessary. Whatever the AC thing is, like, figure it out on your own. You don't need to be going into your roommate's room. That's so weird.
Yeah. And I really didn't like so he gets frustrated and leaves the water tasting party, but he calls, or Schwartz calls him. So there's a part where you're listening in on their phone conversation, and Tom is just going in about how crazy Ariana is. And I'm like, no, you don't get to paint her as this crazy person when you put her in this, like, she's crazy because of what you did to her.
Right.
She's screaming at you to stop talking to her because she can't even stand to be in the same room with you. She's only doing it so she doesn't lose her friends.
Yeah.
Like, they're literally just having a pissing contest right now.
Yeah.
Like,
I
marking my territory.
Well, we'll get to there in a minute, so I'll hold that thought. But
so after the water tasting, we get the group beach day.
Yes.
Right before the beach day, you see Ariana texting Katie, and Katie's text says, "Are we going to Sheena's beach day, or should we fake our own deaths?"
I love that.
I'm just here for the Katie's one-liners this season. I feel like every episode there's at least one hilarious one, and that one really got me. Like, I will be using that. Are we going to the morning huddle, or are we going to fake our own deaths? Like, I'm gonna use that.
I would be okay with the Katie Ariana spinoff.
I think so.
Honestly,
I do think the group is in this weird divide because of where they are naturally in life. And I think Ariana and Katie have both gotten out of very long-term relationships and are in a place where they're focusing on themselves. And I think a spinoff of them would be quite interesting, whereas I think the rest of the cast should be pretty much on the Valley.
I could see that. I could take
Like,
Lala
even James
on their
and Ally.
spinoff.
I feel like Lala, because has Ocean and she's having
That's
another
true,
baby, I
the
feel like
kids thing.
she makes sense on the Valley because I haven't even watched the Valley.
She was on the Valley too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, it's like I feel like that's what is going to happen after this season.
I could see that.
Like, if Vanderpump even comes back.
And I don't know what the future of the Valley holds with Jax and Brittany being split too. Like, that may like feed into the drama for them, or it may be like, well, we can't move forward, because I think Jax is one of the producers on the show.
Oh.
Which is wild. Like, who gave him the reins?
No, thank
right?
you.
But I think he is, so I felt like I had something else to say there and I totally forgot.
These two bullet points are from you.
I'm gonna read these word for word because this is what I wrote in the moment, and this was during that conversation, I believe, between Brock and Sheena, and Brock was saying that like Ariana's being too over the top. They were referencing back to the water tasting when Ariana blew up. And Brock was saying that like she, for herself, needs to like get over this anger because it's too much for her to carry as a burden, which I get what he's saying, but he was saying it from like a place of being like kind of judgmental too.
Yeah.
And Sheena, so what I wrote, because I was actually impressed with Sheena in that moment, because I'm like, dang, she's actually making sense right now. So I wrote, not Sheena making sense about defending Ariana for getting upset. And then it took me all of 30 seconds to write this next bullet, which says disregard the above bullet. Writing this about 30 seconds later, Sheena now saying what Sandoval did to Ariana is the best thing that's ever happened to her.
On no planet, in no possible universe of the way this went down, is that the best thing that ever happened to her.
No, it is not. It's like saying that someone who went off, and this is more dramatic, but it's like saying someone who went off and like fought in the war comes back with PTSD, and you're like, well, you have a pension from fighting in the war. That's really the best thing that ever happened to you. No, I am hiding under my bed for the rest of my life. It's not the best thing. They should have paid me more for the trauma that I went through. Like, for you to say
it really just sucks, because it's like Ariana did nothing to deserve this or to like put herself in this position, and she has to constantly talk about this situation that she had no control over, and it's really just insane to watch people spin it.
It's crazy.
Especially Lala, who was in a similar situation and was like, well, Schwartz is dead to me because he plays pickleball with Randall.
But again, I will say in Lala's defense, that was only during their custody case.
You have said that before.
And that,
I don't care. It's hypocritical.
Really? That makes more sense to me, because for my baby, I will do anything. And like, she's being protective of her like personal life in that moment because it can be used against her in court. But once the court has settled, once like the custody agreement is signed off and stuff, like I don't think she has brought that up since then. So like that I'm okay with, because I would also be very nervous about that going through custody battle.
It is slightly different because they have a kid together.
But Sheena, this is one of the worst things that can happen to someone. And that's if it wasn't aired on national TV. Like, is she getting brand deals and making money out of it? Like, yeah. But is she going to look back?
But do you think if given the choice, like if somebody came to Ariana before the affair started and said, these are the options. You and Tom can live happily ever after, and there's nothing's going to come of this. Or he can have an affair with your best friend, and it can go on in front of the entire world. But you're going to get like, you're going to go on Dancing with the Stars and you're going to get brand deals and you're
make
never
some
going to have
money.
to buy pens or batteries ever again.
Pens or
Okay.
batteries.
I don't think if someone presented her with those options, she'd be like, bet, let me take that one.
No. Yeah.
She would take the happily ever after for partner of over a decade and keep it moving.
Yeah.
Like,
so just another example of every time I start to like give Sheena just an ounce of credit, just instantly she pulls the carpet out from under me. Like I take it back. I cannot,
yeah.
I really try to like her and to support her.
Yes.
Because I do feel like
I
she
don't. I've
gets
given up
so
at this point.
beat up on. Yeah, and I feel bad for her, but she does it to herself. What? I don't. Okay. So
in the earlier seasons, it was a lot easier to feel bad for her.
Yeah.
Now it's just all these years later, you're like, I don't know. She has this way of putting herself there.
So I agree with this next point, but I am curious as to what it was from this show that made you write that down.
So what she's talking about is I wrote a bullet point that says, of all the people on Vanderpump Rules, James's mom is one of my least favorites. Nothing like I wrote that down as soon as I saw her face on the screen. I didn't realize she was going to be in this episode. She makes me super uncomfortable. I feel like she is the type of mom who is the child, and she lets James be the adult, which is crazy because James is only just now getting his life together, and that's probably a lot of thanks to Allie.
Right.
Let's be honest. But I just feel like she's very, she comes across in any of the past times she's been on the show, she comes across as very self-centered to me. And it just really gives me the ick.
I can't remember like the exact scene, but I remember a scene with her talking to Lisa Vanderpump. Like, I think it was begging James to like stay employed with her or something. And Lisa may have even been saying like, I don't think it's a good idea because it's like at a bar. I can't remember the specific like conversation.
Well, yeah, and she was basically James's mom was, I remember what you're talking about. James's mom was saying like, you're a mother figure to him. And Lisa's like, you're his mother.
Yes.
You're actually his mother.
Yes. I remember being like so grossed out by her in that moment. Yeah. It was like, you are his mother. What are you doing? Like I am. And Lisa was like, I am trying to do what's right by him. And I think he needs this discipline in his life right
kick
now.
In the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's just like begging. It was almost to me what it seemed like is she wanted him to go out and make money. And she was more concerned with him making money than his personal well-being. And correct. Lisa Vanderpump was more concerned about the personal well-being.
And it's like Lisa doesn't always have pure intentions. Like I do think that she has a soft spot for a lot of the people on her show, but she doesn't always have the best intentions. Like I'm sure she tried and tried and tried to get Rachel to come back to the show, even though that wasn't what's best for Rachel, but it's what's best for the show because of ratings. Like, I don't think Lisa always has the best intentions, but I do think she has better intentions than James's mom.
James's mom sucks.
James's mom just makes me super uncomfortable. Did we really need to share with Lisa and James's mom that Katie and Max slept together? Did we really need to talk about that?
Wait. Hang on. I'm having like a revelation. This isn't Lisa Vanderpump's son, Max, right?
No.
Okay.
No, that's it. Yeah. Like that would make, and even that would be weird actually.
Yeah.
Like that'd be really weird.
I just remembered that's his name.
That is his name. No, it's the Max who was dating Dana and Sheena. The season that they started without Jax and Kristen and Stassi, and they brought on all those new characters. It was like Dana. There was another girl, I can't remember her name. She had long hair. And then Max and Brett. What's his name? Brett and Max?
None of those names sound familiar to me. That's probably because I just like binged through it all.
You went through it so fast, yeah.
And they obviously didn't stay on it.
Yeah. So we're at the dinner with Allie, James, Lisa Vanderpump, and James's mom. And Allie and James tell them about how Katie and Max slept together. Now, I thought that was really weird, but I thought one of the funniest parts of the episode, even though I don't like her, was James's mom saying, "Are you team Katie with the banging?" "I'm team Katie with the banging." Like she's like good for Katie.
Oh,
But
great.
also like I don't need this woman chiming in on this.
No.
But it was hilarious. Okay, and so after the dinner we get the beach day.
Oh boy.
Where James literally draws a line in the sand. Ariana did not seem enthused about the line in the sand.
She did not.
She was not enthused.
No.
Period.
That's that topic I was going to mention earlier too about like I am a little bit surprised how much everyone keeps inviting both Ariana and Tom to things. And I get it. I get their like conflict about it, but also like just because Tom's okay with it doesn't mean that Ariana is. And like I feel like you kind of have to navigate around that with how fresh it is to them while they're filming.
Yes.
Like
everyone has just decided that they're going to move on and Ariana's not there yet.
No.
And they still keep trying. Like she's right. They are trying to shove him down her throat. They're trying to normalize them all being friends again. And she's like, no. How many times do we have to have an explosive conversation for us to know that this is not it?
Yeah. How many times are you guys going to keep doing this to me? Like, do you even care about me? Like, stop.
Yeah. Ick. I don't remember what the context was, but Sheena just says, every guy in this group has been flirty with me. No, stop it.
Sheena.
Just stop it. I just don't understand. The pick me energy is just strong, and
I want to be able to like her.
You can't though. Like she won't allow it. She always puts her own foot in her mouth.
She does. And it's like she's not the worst in the world. I think that's why I want to be able to like her, because she's not she's constantly writing this like middle ground of like almost okay and then messes up. Almost okay and then messes up. And it's like, girl.
It's any steam that she gets is just gone as soon as she opens her mouth about something else. I just can't. I don't think I can give her any more redemption because I'm so tired of being like, oh yeah, like I get where she's coming from. And then you're like, oh my God, she just said that stupid thing about Ariana being her backup dancer.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting there too. It's like, I can't, there's no more like defending I can do. Like you keep messing it up. This is our last point. I laughed literally out loud so hard. I LOL'd when Tom mentioned his HR department.
I have workers' comp and insurance. I think you have to have those when you own a business. I don't think those are optional.
Actually, don't. Maybe in California especially too, because they're very like worker friendly.
Yeah.
I do know usually when you're under a certain limit, like 15 people in your organization or something like that, like a lot less of the like rules and regulations apply to you. But just like, first of all, when he brought that up, what was he talking about? Like, I have an HR department for what? Are you trying to fire her? Are you trying to coach her? Like,
right.
And what are you talking about? You need to get paperwork to fire her? I don't understand.
In what capacity you're saying. Does your HR department work?
Yeah, but
when
just
did they get contacted?
Right. Just sending someone home for having an interview elsewhere because you eavesdropped into it is just on so many levels concerning and upsetting. And I don't think an HR department would back that.
I also think Ariana is a little bit, this is where I think she wants to piss him off, is that she had this meeting with Anne in their house.
I know. In the main living area. When they could have gone to like a Starbucks.
It's spelled Starbox.
Welcome to Starbucks.
It's Starbucks and Roblox put together.
Exactly. Yeah, when she could have just gone to a Starbucks or something. And honestly, it probably made Anne feel kind of uncomfortable too, I would think. Like having
Yeah, like, that's just not I'm sorry, but it's just not a good plan, and I think, honestly, it was her intention.
I
She's just like,
agree.
"I just wanna piss him off," but I'm
It's the
pretending I
spite.
don't, like it's the spite for me.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. I
Yeah.
agree.
It was a great episode, very excited to see what happens next with these
Same.
crazy kids.
Mhm, mhm. It's funny because one of our friends told us that this was the finale, and
We're like, "This doesn't even make sense.
I was
That's
so
the
worked up. Oh
finale."
my, I was so worked up about it because I'm like, this cannot be the finale. Like they've left it at
Mm-mm.
such a weird place, and turns out it's not. So that makes sense.
Thank God. But also, I was kind of excited when you said it was the finale because that meant the reunion was
I
next. And the
know.
reunion is always one of my favorite parts. And it does seem like from interviews that different castmates are putting out, they've filmed the reunion already. And it
Mm.
seems like Lala and Sheena are not friends with Katie and Ariana.
Oh
That's the way it
shit.
seems. That's the way Lala specifically is making it seem.
Woof. Okay.
But who
Shoot.
knows? I mean, they are all smart individuals. Like they really could just be playing it up at this point.
Then words that are hard to spell is our list for this week. Every week we try to bring you guys a little curated list. This week I had some grammar issues, so our
This week I had some grammar issues.
so our list ended up being words that are hard to spell. I'll just kind of rattle them off quickly here. We have convenient.
Yeah, that's a toughie.
Where does the I go? And are there two of them? Like I always for some reason think it's convenient.
Convenient. Me too.
Convenient. Oh, it is convenient.
There's one I. There's not two. Words are hard.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
cannot say them.
I have always wanted to put an extra I in after the V.
After the V. Convenient. Yeah.
And it doesn't go
I get
there.
that. It doesn't.
Wednesday. We're all very familiar with that one. I don't think I really have to harp on it. BEA beautiful. Does anyone else say that every time they have to spell that out in their head?
Well, it just reminded me of another one, Bananas, thanks to Gwen Stefani. BANANAS.
Yeah.
Like that's always going to be in my head.
And if I don't say it in my head, the word is butchered.
Yeah, then it's spelled wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to say it in my BEA beautiful. If I don't say BEA beautiful, it's not going to be spelled right. Millennials. I had a big issue spelling that this week in particular. So our whole shtick for our brand is two millennial moms who are out of touch. And every time I have to spell that word, it gets me. I literally have Googled it like 1,000 times and it just doesn't sink in.
You'll never be able to spell it. It's just one of those things that you'll always misspell.
The word jinx has really messed me up because of...
And it's misspelled in the note.
Whoops. Because of being a millennial.
I corrected it because I'm an asshole.
No, thank you. That I totally blame on being a millennial and Pokemon existing. Because there is a Pokemon called Jinx. And they spelled it wrong. And now for my whole life, so the Pokédex like was my Bible growing up. I also was religious, and I did read the real Bible up until a certain point. But also the Pokédex. That was like,
thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Pokemon.
I've read that so much, and now I don't know how to spell Jinx. So for story time today, we talked about like my Tinder dating stories. A little while ago, a couple episodes ago, and there was one I left out because I was a little nervous to share it just because I'm still friends with this person.
Yeah.
Who we're going to call Stanley.
I like that name. I'm just picturing Flat Stanley now, so.
Who's Flat Stanley?
You didn't have a Flat Stanley when you were a kid?
No. Is it a cup?
No. It's a little cutout of a person, and you you mail it to your pen pal, and they're supposed to take Flat Stanley anywhere they go.
Oh my God, I'm looking at it. This looks kind of creepy.
It's a little creepy. It's definitely a 90s thing.
Did you have pen pals?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
We did at my school.
Oh yeah,
we did that in elementary school. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. Super weird.
So Stanley,
I think they still do that.
Do they?
Oh gosh. So tell us about Stanley.
So Stanley, so we're still friends, and every once in a while I see this person. So I've just been nervous about telling the story because it's really is my story to tell, but I guess so I just want to emphasize that he and I are still friends. When all is forgiven, there's no hard feelings or anything. We had a talk and everything has been squared away, and it was a respectful, open, honest, transparent conversation, and we have both moved on totally. So I just don't want to this is why we're using code names, because I just don't want to put him out there and this person get a bad rap, because I don't think he does deserve that. Again, we had a very respectful conversation about this afterwards, but it is kind of funny that it played out the way that it did. And I think that it would be a good story to share. So
it's also rage-inducing, but it is funny.
So I'm just,
in hindsight,
gonna take a sip of this wine and we'll jump in.
You go for it, girl.
Okay, so I was in between relationships. I had been in a relationship for 3 or 4 years with someone, and then he and I broke up, and there was about a year that I was on Tinder. During that year I was on Tinder, the guy that I had recently broken up with, we'll call him Leon. So
okay. Stanley and Leon.
So I went to one of my favorite bars during this time of trying to meet new people and stuff. I went to one of my favorite bars in town. It's just known for being this hippie bar, super cute. I love that place, and there's always live music there. This bar, I'm just sitting at the bar trying to close out my tab or something, and this guy comes up and sits next to me, and somehow we start talking about environmental stuff, and I work in the environmental field. So I told him that, and he's like, oh, me too. So we kind of just hit it off from there. We both work in the environmental field. It was cool having double interests like that, because we're obviously both at this live music event that we like, and then also we both are involved in environmental stuff. So that was a cute little romance. It lasted for maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And during this 2 weeks, it was a whirlwind. It was a ton of fun. Because the shows don't end until 2 or 3, and then you go to an after party, and next thing you know, the sun is rising when you're going home. So we had a ton of fun together during that time. But he always seemed kind of secretive about certain things. So there were a couple times when we were going to a show near where he lives, which is probably about 30-45 minutes out from where I lived, and I'd be oh, should we just stay at your place tonight? We had already slept over together. So I was should we just stay at your place that night? And he was oh no. One time we were going to a hot pepper fest, which is a very niche,
so specific.
Yeah, very niche thing. It was a lot of fun though. It was a bunch of hot sauces you could try and stuff. It was cool. But so before we went to the hot pepper fest, he wanted to go pick up his specific hot sauce tasting spoons. So
I don't remember that part of the story. That is hilarious.
They make special spoons for you to taste hot sauce from, that there's no metal taste on the spoon. I think they're
Gotcha,
made from like
okay.
a stone or something, so that there's no like residual of like
No impurities.
flavor from the utensil that's impeding the taste of the hot sauce. So he wanted to go pick those up, and I had to pee really bad. We arrived to his house so he could pick them up, and I'm like, I really have to pee. Like, can I just run in and pee? And I asked to go in his trailer to go to the bathroom, and he didn't want me in there. And I'm like, well, this is the first time this has come up, you know? I'm like, it's not a huge deal. Like, maybe, you know, like, I don't want someone in my home if I hadn't thought through it, especially someone I'm dating, because I want to clean up and stuff before. So I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. On the other hand, like, I really like am gonna pee in my pants. Like,
Is there a tree
is there
somewhere?
something we can do, right? So he drives me to the community center, and like wasn't even sure if I could go pee in there. And anyway, so I went pee there. It was fine. We went to the hot pepper festival.
Hot Pockets.
So this is like the first kind of, you know, yellow flag. So
God.
go to the hot pepper. Go to the festival. We had a good time. I believe it was like the next week. We're at a festival, not a festival, at a concert in his area again, like 30, 45 minutes from my house. So we started this day where I lived at. We both parked in a parking garage and went to a concert in downtown city where I live. So this is like 20 minutes from my house where I had driven to. We both parked our cars there. We go to this music festival there. It was kind of an early one. It ended at like 11. And from there, he asked me if I want to go to this other concert of this like band that he really likes. So it wasn't really my style music, but you know, he asked me if I wanted to go, and I'm like, sure. And I said, well, should I drive my car or your car, or, you know, what should we do? And he said, oh, you can just ride with me. I say, okay. So I leave my car there in the parking garage, which is fine. I'll just pay a little bit more, you know, for it. He drives us 30 minutes out to where he lives. And we go to that concert. That was fun. And that concert, I don't know, we left there maybe at like 2 or 3 a.m. And then his friend lived even closer than where he was at. So we go to her house for the after party, which lasts like maybe 3 hours or so. And people are kind of starting to dwindle out of her place. I'm kind of getting the feeling that she's like ready to go to bed and like ready for people to leave. And I look over at him, and he's like sleeping on the couch. And I'm like, hey, like, I'm like kind of poking him. I'm like, hey, should we like go to your place, or what should we do? I guess we should just go to your place because that's close. And we have his car. I don't have my car to go home at this point, and it's 6 a.m. and I need to go to bed.
Yeah. I need to sleep.
So reluctantly, he agrees that we go to his place. We'll sleep. As we're driving to his place, he says, oh, I have this like baby shower tomorrow. It's at 11 a.m. And I'm like, that's not even tomorrow. Like, that's now. That's like right now. What are you talking about? And he's like, so we'll go to sleep for a couple hours and then I'll go to that. And he's like, I don't think I can really bring you because it's like an invite type thing. And he and I, like, you know, weren't even talking when the invites went out. I'm not worried about that, you know. But so we get there, we go to sleep, we sleep at his place. And I remember saying right before we went to bed, I'm like, well, maybe I can just like stay here while you go to that, you know, because I did not want to wake up.
In like 2 hours.
In a couple hours.
I need 8 hours of sleep.
After being awake all night, you know, after him, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just kind of like, you know, stay here. And he didn't say, I can't remember what, I think he just like mumbled and went to sleep. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then he wakes up and he's like, okay, time to go. And I'm like, can I just like stay here like while you're there? And he's like, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. He told me. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I also don't really have enough time to like bring you all the way back to your car before then. And I'm like, well, what time is it? You know, I'm just like waking up to him at this point. I don't even know what time it is. And he didn't have time to make it to the baby shower and bring me to my home, which, if you ask me, that's kind of on him, right? Like, shouldn't he have planned around that and planned to like have enough time to bring me back to my car?
No, but he doesn't do that. He doesn't plan.
So instead of just saying like, maybe you can get an Uber from here, or like just wake up on your own accord and like Uber out, whatever, you know, he's like, I'm going to bring you to a gas station because his baby shower was still on that side of town. So there's like a huge bridge that you have to cross over to get from one side of town to the other side of town that goes over water. So he was like, I will get you to the closest part of, like, to the edge of the bridge pretty much. And I'll leave you at a gas station there.
I'm just going to throw you off the bridge. Is that okay?
He's like, I will get you as close to the bridge as possible to where it's not that far out of the way to my baby shower. And I'll leave you at that gas station. And you can just Uber from there to your car to
You'll live there now.
To go home.
You'll live at this gas station.
Mm-hmm. So I had to, and I'm hungover as hell through all of this too. I'm like, am I going to puke in this Uber? I hope not. I've never been that person. I really don't want to be that person. The person's trying to talk to me, driving me too. And I'm like, not today, sir. Please, thank you.
Sir, I've had 1 hour of sleep.
So, yeah, he drops me off at a gas station and I had to Uber my way from that gas station. Paid for an Uber 25 minutes to my car and then had to drive my car like another 20 minutes home from there when I could have just been sleeping, if we're honest. And so the second part of that music festival was that day as well. So it was Saturday night that this happened. Sunday of the music festival was up and coming still. And we both still have tickets together.
Oh my gosh.
To go Sunday. We both have tickets at least. Yeah. And I was going with their crowd. I bought the tickets to go with their crowd, you know? So, yeah. So I like was avoiding him the most of the time that day. And then like I finally got like a little drunk and was like, oh, whatever. Like I'll just like let it go and have fun. And then I ended up like going to the after party with them after I hung out with him at like the last maybe hour or two of it. That day, and then I went to like their like little after party that night, and he did pull me aside and like to have a conversation. He was like, I just want to let you know, like I sometimes like meet people and I think, oh, maybe this is the person that I can actually like settle down and like have a relationship with, and then I realized that I think maybe I'm just like too selfish to like be in a relationship, pretty much is what he said. And I appreciate him having that conversation with me. And it wasn't even like we had been talking for like 2 weeks. So it wasn't like a huge deal or anything. I was happy he just like told me how it was that day. But yeah, so I was like, okay. And we had fun that last night. And then I went on my way and we haven't really hung out since then. I actually met my husband.
Do you think he ever thinks about the fact that he left you at a gas station after being out all night?
Dude, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he really understood like how weird that was.
Yeah. I will never forget the voice notes.
And like in the moment too, I almost like part of me was like, this is really fucked up, right? Like people aren't supposed to just like leave you at a gas station the next day. And then the other part of me, because of the tone in our conversations dealing with it was so like casual, that the other part of me is like, oh, maybe I'm just being like crazy for like being upset about it. But no, yeah, I got validation when I sent the story out to some friends via voice note and heard their reactions.
We were all outraged. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
as you should be.
That was wild. So, yeah, Stanley and I did not work out.
Thankfully, Brian. Thankfully,
I said
your
his
husband.
name.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know the rules.
So I met my husband, actually. It's funny. So right after that day, after he had dropped me off, I went on Tinder. Like before he and I had talked again, I went back on Tinder and I was just like, honestly, it's so much fun just like scrolling on Tinder too. Like I usually don't expect anything to come from it, but I always have fun with it. So I went back on Tinder and I ended up matching with that day the guy who is now my husband. So
that's so funny.
Everything worked out.
I deserve better. I'm going to go find it.
And it worked out. So thank you, Stanley.
Stanley, if you're listening, please don't leave anybody else at a gas station.
Don't do that. Yeah, like get a hotel or just like don't convince someone to come out to your area where you live at late night without their car if you're not going to be able to get them back to their side of the town. Like, don't do that.
I think some of my neighbors are murdering each other. I don't know if you can hear the yelling.
Something is happening.
I don't know if it's children or adults, but it sounds like just murder.
Something's going on.
I gotta close this window.
I think that's it, huh? Oh, yes. I think that's it, pretty much.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it this week. I don't have a book update because I couldn't bring myself to start reading that book yet.
I figured. I honestly didn't even ask you because I was just assuming.
It was not the week for that.
Yeah, I get that. Follow us on Instagram at outoftouch, the letter PCast, all one word, no spaces, no underscores. Follow us on TikTok at outoftouchmoments. Send us an email, please, at outoftouchcast@gmail.com.
Oh, boom.
Bye. Bye.
Remember what do I